Hey everyone, welcome to this practice. So in this one, we're going to put everything we've learned so far to use, especially Elif, statements, and we are going to make something pretty cool. So, we have talked about BMI calculator in the past, and we made a pretty simple BMI calculator, right? So what we're going to do in this practice is we're going to actually improve it a little bit. So my thinking is that we can make a BMI calculator. We got the formula, and by the way, I'm going to leave the resources for you, all the resources in the resources section. But the BMI calculator that I want to create essentially is going to tell us if we're underweight, normal, overweight, or very overweight, essentially. So what we need to do is we need to actually get the formula, get the information, get the formula, right? Calculate the BMI, and then determine based on the number that this formula generates, what is like their weight class, and then we're just going to display it essentially, because that's not something we did before. We just spit out a number essentially, right? But now we're actually gonna make it into something that the people can understand better, right? So this is the better BMI. So guys, for the files for this are in the resource section. The BMI, the original file, that's gonna be the file that you can fork, is gonna look like this. And that's like, if you fork that, it's gonna just give you the base of information that you have. We got the state, we got the practice, the description, make a new BMI calculator that tells if someone is overweight or not. It needs to get data and tell them you are at a healthy weight, or you're overweight or something like that. Make sure the numbers are rounded. That's very important, and we'll get to that as well. All right, so you can just access this file, fork it, and start coding it. Now I want you to use if statements, I want you to use elif statements. That's very important, and I want you to try to get it done. And by the way, I'm gonna leave a link to this image as well, so you can actually access it and we can take a look at it. That shows the formula and also the weight class and everything, so you can just take a look at it. But I want you to try to do it yourself. All right, that's very, very important. Again, we did this once before, we did the BMI calculator. Now we want to actually display it in text. So try to do it by yourself, and try to see if you can get it done. All right, so hopefully you try to do it. If not, that's all right, or if you were like getting some errors or were confused a little bit, this is where you get the answer. So let's start building it. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to actually get the BMI formula, right? So I'm just going to go BMI, and we're going to say round, and because we're rounding the numbers, right? So we're going to round this, and we're going to say weight divided by height, right? So that's what we want, and then we need to make that to the power of 2. So that is what we're looking for, right? So that's the BMI number essentially. So if I just print this real quick, BMI, so if I print it and run this, let's see what we get. Enter your height in meter, 1.72 for example. That's wrong. Let's run that one more time and just enter the wrong number, 1.72 for example, and I'm gonna say 60. There you go. So that's gonna give us our BMI, which is 20. All right, so far so looking good, right? Again, we got this information, we make this formula right here, right? And we rounded this number, because technically when you actually divide the weight by height and go to the power of 2, what is going to happen is that you're going to just get a very a number with decimal points, right? So the reason we round it is because we want to just get a clean number, right? So with that being said, let's go ahead and write the rest of it. So this is where we write the if statements. So I'm going to start by writing a simple if. Now I want to do something that I need to explain it to you, but let's get to it and let me explain what do I mean by that. So we're going to say if BMI is less than 18.5, right? Again, if you remember, we got the below 18.5, that is underweight, right? So we're going to go ahead and say print let's actually make it an F statement. Okay, your BMI is, let's give it a BMI, give him the number, you are underweight. All right, So that's our first message, right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to continue. We're going to use Elif statements. So we're going to make it Elif. I'm going to go back. As you see, I went back because if I just enter, it's going to put us in the same indent as the print. We don't want that. We just want to go back and make it Elif. And we're going to say BMI. If BMI is smaller than 25, we're going to say print. Make it an F statement. That's very important. Your BMI is BMI, so like that would be the BMI variable. You have a normal weight. Now I want to explain this real quick because this can get a little bit confusing. So the idea with an Elif is that what we're saying is that if the BMI is less than 18, okay, you want to display this message. But then if it's then we're coming back here and we're saying Elif BMI, if it's less than 25, we're giving them a normal message. So the idea with this is that when you actually check for under 18.5 and then we go and say less than 25, what happens is that because you run this on the first, because again the code runs from top to bottom, right? So because you run this first, and if this doesn't apply, this is going to apply assuming the number is between 18.5 and 25. So that's why, you know, because usually if you just think about this code by itself, this would include anything that is under 25, right? Even if it's like 10, for example. But in this case, that's not going to be true, because if that is true, if we are below 18.5, this code is going to immediately run and we're going to be out of the code, out of the program immediately. So take a look at this, for example. Let me run this real quick and show you. So we're going to say 1.72, and let's say I'm going to do something that is going to say I'm underweight, for example, 20 kilogram, something like that. It says your BMI is 7, you are underweight. All right, so that essentially is telling me that, hey, this original equation here up here ran first and it just passed through, right? So this one is not going to run. So that's what I mean by this. Like, it just runs in order. That's very, very important to understand, because right now what we're going to do is we're going to add more Elif, right? We're going to say BMI, and if BMI is, for example, under 30, we're going to say print, and same thing, F, and we're going to say your BMI is BMI. You are overweight. So let's make it, there you go. So see guys, so now what's happening is that we added this another Elif statement. So if this doesn't work, we're gonna go to this, right? Because it's gonna say, okay, is it between 25 and 18? No. If this doesn't work, it's gonna check for another one. It says, is it between 25 and 30? If that's the case, it's gonna show this message. And again, that's just how it works, right? So like, let's see what we got here. So we got 18 to 29, and then I'm just gonna keep it very simple. We're just gonna like make it, I don't want to have too many of them here. So then we're just gonna, well, let's actually make it this way exactly, right? So we're gonna say 18 and 18.9 to 24.9. Let's actually make it to 24.9. Here we go. Just make it more accurate, right? So we're gonna say that's normal weight, and then that 25 to 29.9, that's overweight. So 29.9, right? That's overweight. And then we're gonna have another Elif, and BMI is less than what is it, 30 and up, essentially. All right, well, actually, there you go. So that's pretty much the end of it, because I don't want to add more. And we're gonna have one last one, which is gonna be our else statement, right? So else, we're just gonna come and say else, and we're gonna say print F, your BMI is BMI, you are very overweight. So just like that, we got our final code here. So let's see what's wrong. There you go. That's where I got the thing wrong. Here we go. So just like that, we got our calculator, right? So again, we're checking for this condition. If it doesn't, we're going to check for this. If it doesn't, we're going to check for this. And if it doesn't, we're going to run the final else, command. So just like that, we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to say 172. Let's say I'm going to put like 85 kilograms. So it's going to say your BMI is 29. You are overweight. Let's actually try to get over. I want to display this message. All right. So let's do one more time. 172. I'm going to say 90. And there you go. Your BMI is 30. You are very overweight. So that would be the rest of it. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope this made sense, and I hope you got some value from this. And let me know how did you do with this one. Let me know if you have any questions. I know especially this can get a little bit confusing, the way this works. But again, you can imagine this as if it's not 18, it's going to check between these two essentially when you have a number here at least. So that's pretty much how it works, because especially if we have it in order. So yeah, so if none of them applies, we're going to go to the else. So that's pretty much it. Again, with files, and by the way, the answer to this, I'm going to put the answer for you guys. It's in the resources section as well, because this can get a little bit confusing. So I put the answer for you guys. So we got 3 resources in there. The first one is going to be the original file, so you can actually start coding and practice it yourself. The second one is going to be the answer, which is going to have all the code that I just did for you. And also we're going to have this as well, so you can take a look at the formula. Let me know if you have any questions. If not, I'll see you in the next video.